All right, so what do you got here?
So we are cleaning out the attic, and what we found, I don't know if it's in here, is a medical journal that he would have stolen from his mom, who was the postmistress, or his father, when he was about 12 or 13 years old.
Wow.
And we found it in the floorboards of the attic.
What's up, Exeters? Today, we've exited off on a very unique exit. As you can tell, the wind is kicking. It's a little chilly.
Cold.
Still cold. Very windy. Anyway, the exit we've exited off at is Gilmanton, New Hampshire. So you're probably like me. When Renee was telling me the story, you never heard of this place, and it is a small town.
Very small.
Yes. What's so special about this town is kind of, in a way, has a touch of a dark side. This town is the birthplace and home, or was home, to America's very first serial killer. And his name?
H.H. Holmes.
That's right. So we're here to check out this man's birth spot, where he grew up, the house that made him the killer he was. Maybe, we don't know that for sure, but he was a serial killer. Join us on this adventure.
All right, so we're going to start off this story kind of across from the house over here at the town hall.
Yes, the town offices.
Because someone does currently live in this home, so kind of want to go over the history with you before we go over their videoing.
You got to wonder if they know they're living in the home of the very first serial killer in America. Because if you didn't know that and then you found it out, that would be what?
So in 1861, Herman Munster Webster, but you probably know him as H.H. Holmes, was born here in Gilmerton, New Hampshire. He grew up in this house. He was had a wealthy family. He grew up very privileged. He was very interested in medicine and medical experiments, you know. So they say that he started early in life dissecting animals.
That's how it starts.
He was also thought to have had something to do with one of his friends dying. When he got old enough to go to college, he went to the University of Michigan, to which he started stealing corpses from there and, you know, doing experiments on those. And so this is all before he ended up moving to Chicago, which is one of his more famous locations that you've probably heard of, the Murder Castle, which is no longer there. It's been torn down, and now there's a post office sitting in that location.
But there is a basement underneath the post office, right?
I don't know. I would assume the basement may be still there, but I don't know. So when he moved to Chicago, he got a job at a pharmacy, and they think he may have ended up killing the owner of the pharmacy he worked at and taking over the business fully. And then the Chicago World Fair came into town. He started getting people to stay at his house. And so that's how he would lure them into this murder castle. The top floor of the castle was where he would live, and there were like chutes and like trap doors, and he would hide these people and, you know, torture and kill them, and he would send their body to the basement to be burned.
Oh, yeah, his own personal body chute.
So it's questionable about how many people he actually killed. It's anywhere from 20 to 200. Once he got arrested, he did admit to, I want to say it was around 27. And another way he would lure people in was he would get engaged to women. And then they would mysteriously go missing. So he had like different names he would go by. Once he moved to Chicago, obviously he didn't go by his name he was born with. He started going by Dr. Henry H. Holmes when he moved there. But that's not the only fake name he used. So he did have an accomplice, and another little racket he did was he got this accomplice guy to, not necessarily accomplice in the murders I'm talking about, but just a little side hustle thing he was doing. He got the guy to fake his own death and got a $10,000 insurance claim. Well, guess what? H.H. Holmes ended up whacking that guy too. So,
yo, can't let my secrets get out.
so then he ended up telling that guy's wife that he was in hiding when really he'd offed him, and convinced this woman to let him travel with some of their kids. It was like 3 out of the 5 kids. And then he ended up whacking all 3 of them too.
I mean, once you start whacking, it's hard to stop.
So he ends up getting arrested for like various things. And while he's in prison, but the thing is, nobody knew he was the killer. So he wasn't arrested for that. It was like other things he was getting arrested for. So, but one occurrence while he was in prison, he told this other inmate about the insurance stuff. So that inmate, you know, starts cooperating with the police and everything to get the investigation. So they ended up chasing Holmes and ended up catching him. And he got taken to prison in Pennsylvania. And he was there for 2 years before he was executed by hanging. And you know, there's like lots of inspiration that have come from his murders and whatnot, movies and stuff.
I mean, how can it not when you're the first serial killer in America and you've killed that many people in your little murder castle with your body chutes to burn them? I mean, and your side hustles and everything else. I mean,
yeah. So he was also super intelligent, which I feel like is almost like a characteristic of a lot of serial killers.
yeah, it wasn't like Jeffrey Dahmer and Charlie Manson. Weren't they all like extremely smart individuals, like borderline geniuses?
Maybe I don't.
Maybe I don't know that for sure. I feel like that's true, but I'm not gonna go out and say it's 100% true. But I feel like that is true. I feel like they were fairly smart.
So we're walking up the road to get to 500 Province Road or Street, whatever you want to call it. We're going to show you the house.
Let's cross. Hey, they got you get on the side. They got a pub restaurant. All right, so the house is just up in front of us on this side of the road. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it around so we can get a shot of it. So this White House right there. Well, I guess it would be the white and tan one, really, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's it. That is the home.
The birthplace and where H.H. Holmes grew up. It's
Sorry,
right here on the corner
of Cat Alley. There it is. Cat Alley. So, right there over my shoulder, that's it. The birthplace and home of H.H. Holmes. America's first serial killer lived in that home, born in that home.
I wonder if the people that live there know.
Yeah, I'd like to know that too. Like, hey, it looks like it's split in half because that says 1825 on the left, but over the door it says 500.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to know that too. Like, hey, do you know you guys live in the birth home of the very first serial killer in America, H.H. Holmes?
I wonder if they disclosed that before they moved in.
All right, guys. So the lady that lives here in H.H. Holmes's house is actually going to give us a little backstory. She did know who actually lived here before, and she's going to tell you guys. She's going to tell you a little something. She doesn't want to be on camera, so I'm going to kind of keep it on me. And she's going to bring out an artifact that they have found. So, here she is. You guys can't see her because I promised her I'd keep it all thing.
She's camera shy.
Yeah, she's camera shy. So hopefully you guys will be able to hear her again. I'm going to kind of stand close. All right, so what do you got here?
So we are cleaning out the attic, and what we found, I don't know if it's in here, is a medical journal that he would have stolen from his mom, who was the postmistress, or his father, when he was about 12 or 13 years old.
Wow.
And we found it in the floorboards of the attic. So that was pretty creepy.
Yeah, that's...
Oh, it's not in here. It's been given to the Historical Society for them to take pictures of. So they may still have it. But
still, the fact that you found it in the floorboards of the attic that's pretty unreal.
I'm sure my husband has it. Yeah, it is. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. Piece of spooky American history.
That's right. That's right. When he was bad, he was sent to the attic for timeout.
Really?
It overlooks the church, so he could repent.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was he was a little guy, and when he went to school, the kids always picked on him, and they thought they'd really get him, and they brought him down to the doctor's office down the road, and they shoved him in a closet that had a skeleton in it. He wasn't scared. So.
I imagine that. Well, that explains...
explains a couple things.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's what I wish they hadn't torn down the house in Chicago that
really?
he did.
I'm glad they did.
Well, I mean, just as a piece of American, dark American history. I mean, I guess you could say.
He was born upstairs in one of these two front bedrooms.
Okay.
Which one of the? We don't know which one was his bedroom.
No, I did see charcoal, like a burnt piece of wood in this one, not in this one. So I would sooner say it was probably this one.
How long have y'all lived here?
About 10 years. We moved in, we didn't move in. We've been renovating it for 10 years. So.
That's crazy.
So did y'all know about all the history that went with it when you moved in?
Yeah. When my real estate agent came, she pulled up in the front, and I waited. She didn't move, and I said, "Well, aren't we going to go inside?" And she said, "No, I'm not going in, but you can go in if you'd like." Don't worry, Nancy. I won't tell him your last name. So we offered cash for the house, but it's a great house, and everybody has to live somewhere. So
do y'all get a lot of people like us coming to film your house?
Every weekend.
Really?
Oh, at least if we don't get 2 or 3 a week, it's not a good week.
Wow.
And I came out the other day, and there was a guy digging dirt from my front lawn. Just a little bit, just a couple of tablespoons. But
wow,
that's a little odd. Like, you guys were super respectful, and you didn't come over. So those are the ones I talked to.
Yeah. Well, that's what, as soon as we were pulling up and it was like destinations on your left, like, okay, well, somebody lives at the house now. So we were like, well, we'll park over there and kind of like do our backstory and then just kind of make a circle and go back to the car versus standing in the front yard going, hey, this is the house. Because I know if
how did you know about it? How do you...
I actually found it online today. Like, we're doing like a road trip.
Yeah.
We fly back Sunday night. We've been doing, it'll be 11 days. Mm-hmm. We've been going around to different spots.
Different Nemo spots?
Like this, and like weird like stories with like graves.
Okay.
We've done like some real haunted places. We stayed at the Lizzie Borden house.
Oh, good for you. I was thinking of doing a bed and breakfast here.
I bet you would make a killing.
I bet you would make a freaking killing because the Lizzie Borden house, like they got somebody that goes around the town and like does like haunted ghost stuff and everything. But then the ones that actually stay at the house, like they stayed up until like midnight, like doing paranormal investigations before they went to bed. But I mean, it's just like, every few days, like they have a whole batch of like people coming in and I mean, that's a good way to make a lot of, because you'd be surprised at how many people would probably come and stab me, even if it was just 1 or 2 rooms that you had open.
Yeah.
I mean, you would probably have a turnaround at least every week.
Yeah, you could probably easily get about at least $300 a night for everybody.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because we paid, I think, $238 for one of the Lizzie rooms, and it wasn't even one of the suites.
It was just one of the maids or something.
You would want to sleep in the room he was born in. That would freak you out.
There would be people. Would freak
I probably wouldn't want.
He didn't like the Lizzie Borden house at all.
Because I do better like when we go to the places and do like either a history on it or even an investigation night where we bring out our ghost equipment. Yeah. But then leave and go stay somewhere else. But there are
how he's all dressed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I stayed at Lizzie Borden. Now I'm not gonna say I got the best night's sleep, but I mean I stayed there. But
So do you know who? Let me see. Have you been to the winery in town?
Mm-mm.
Okay. We just came and pulled up right here.
Okay. Because goodness, what is her name? She's an author. Painting Place. She was the author of Painting Place. You're probably too young to remember. Painting Place was the first general hospital. The first of its time. And it's a really fascinating true story. She lived up where the winery is now. And I tell you, you should go up there and ask for the owner. And he will tell you the funniest story. It's haunted. He will tell you, he's a big Marine guy, retired, and not afraid of anything. Have him tell you the story of the night he was sleeping here with his great big Dobermans. And she came and sat on the end of his bed. And the Dobermans took off. And he took off.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So.
Thank you again.
Thank you. My 2 boys are in there, so if they come out, you just tell them we We said it was all right.
Okay.
Okay, no problem. Well, there it is, guys. Now we get a closer view of H.H. Holmes' birthplace and house. All right, well, we want to give a special thanks to the owners of the house for talking to us and everything. Much appreciated if you ever see this
All
video.
right, so we have a few more stops to take you on to our H.H. Holmes journey here on this trip. So, on to the next location for H.H. Holmes.
Boop, boop. All right, guys, so we're here in Philly on the corner of Passyunk Avenue, 10th Street, Reed Street. This is the monument for the prison, opened in 1835. It was designed with elegant Egyptian revival style. Following the Revolution, 5,000 inmates, African Americans. H.H. Holmes, considered America's first serial killer, was executed here. The last hanging in PA took place here in 1916, then replaced by electrocution, closed in 1963.
So in November of 1894, H.H. Holmes' crime spree basically came to an end. They arrested him for some fraudulent activity, and basically once they got him into custody was able to link some of the murders to him. So homeboy got caught finally. Got taken to prison, which unfortunately the prison has been torn down, and all that's there is a historical plaque on the corner, and what looks to be a grocery store has taken its place. So in September 12, 1895, a grand jury found him guilty for the murder of his business partner, and under 8 months later, he was in front of a crowd here somewhere on these grounds with a noose around his neck, waiting to be executed.
Yeah, it would have really been nice, or really been cool for the prison to actually still be here. Even if it was just a historical site, like, you know, giving tours or something, versus a grocery store and parking lot.
So on May 7th, 1896 is the date of his execution. They reported that he remained cool all the way until the end. That he even told his executioner to take his time. And it was reported that it took him 15 minutes to die.
That's a long time by hanging. I mean, somebody didn't drop him far enough to snap his neck. Because, I mean, even sitting there choking is either that noose wasn't tight enough or something. That's a long time just to hang there by your neck for 15 minutes before you died.
Yeah. So maybe he was cool until the end because either one, which we know he was kind of, you know, not all
Crazy.
there considering his actions, or two, you believe some of the theories regarding whether he really died or not, which we'll get into next.
Alright guys, so our next stop, I guess, this H.H. Holmes tour, exit, whatever you want to call it. We're here at Holy Cross Cemetery, right outside of Philly, to find the supposed resting place of Mr. H.H. Holmes himself. But Renee has a very interesting story about that she's going to tell you while we walk and try to find the grave. All right, so this grave of H.H. Holmes is supposed to be unmarked. According to research, not supposed to have his name on it or anything like that, supposedly. We found pictures of what's supposed to be the grave and like markers and stuff. One marker is like this old tree that looks like it's been cut off about halfway down with one little branch on it. Another one looks like a little kid hanging off a cross. I see that, like kind of holding on to it like this. So if those two markers are correct, that means this was in the picture as his grave, or maybe close to his grave, but that one's clearly marked. Because his name wasn't John Neal. Alright, so here's the tree. It's supposed to be one of the markers. Like I said, it looks like it's cut off. Broke it off of one limb. This is one of the tombs here. But it's clearly marked with John Neal, but that was also in the research. And then over there, it was another marker. The girl kind of holding on to the cross. But his grave is not supposed to be marked. Now, we're in lot 17. That's what I found. Renee said she showed the same tree, but people were like, oh, that's lot 41. But yet it clearly had the same tomb and the same tree. All right, guys, so we found the spot. There is no headstone. There used to be a temporary headstone, but now it's gone.
They think that the great-great-grandson may have purchased, or an admirer may have put it up.
But it's gone now. But he did purchase 2 plots here. But this one is the one where the headstone's missing and it would have been unmarked. So Renee's going to stand where the headstone would have been. All right, so right where Renee's standing would be the temporary headstone that's not there anymore. So we have the thing, we have the weird cut off busted tree. There's a little one in the ground right there. Then as you walk over, you'd have this weird broken one that says Sheehan over here, and then his headstone was actually there facing back towards me. So like Renee said, they think either the great-great-grandson purchased a temporary one or maybe a secret admirer, but either way, it's gone now. So all right, now you want to give them a little weird history on why he may not even be buried here, why it may be a fake person buried in this ground.
So when he was executed, he had specific instructions to how he wanted to be buried. He wanted to be put in a pine box. He wanted the pine box filled with concrete, buried 10 feet underneath the ground, and then concrete poured on top of that. So people wonder why he wanted that. So he said because grave robbing was really big back then, so he didn't want grave robbers to dig him up, and he didn't want to be dug up for any kind of medical examinations.
Why not?
So I guess this kind of started maybe thoughts put in the great-great-grandson's head, Jeff, that
Yeah.
maybe this is not H.H. Holmes buried here. So, because his thought process was that H.H. Holmes somehow escaped his execution and went overseas to become Jack the Ripper.
I mean, it's plausible back then, especially with all the unique ways he wanted to be buried. I mean, because...
So, in 2017, they actually dug up H.H. Holmes, and there were little fine wisps of his mustache. Sorry, I thought a yellow jacket on me. Little pieces of his suit still left, but like oozing parts of the the pine casket he was buried in. They performed a DNA test on him, and they concluded that the DNA was positive with that of the great-great-grandson. But it still didn't matter with the great-great-grandson. He was like, your test, I don't believe it. I want a second test done. And because there's a lot of evidence that proves that maybe this wasn't him. The grandson was given a lot of evidence from a CIA criminologist that supported maybe H.H. Holmes wasn't actually here. So,
I mean, really, even if they claimed off his DNA or the DNA of a relative was there, doesn't mean it was H.H. Holmes. I mean, it could have been a relative that maybe he paid off, maybe he threatened or conned into taking the rap for him.
I mean, he was very smart, cunning.
I mean,
I don't know.
It could have even been a near relative that had just recently passed, and he got the coroner or whoever to put that body in here. Because if it was a relative of his, it would share some of the DNA. But...
So... I mean, maybe he's resting here, maybe not. But for the sake of this video, I guess we're going to believe that he is here.
Nah. Yeah, I'm going to stick with H.H. Holmes either survived his hanging or someone posed as him, took the hanging for him, and then either was buried here or maybe he got a relative that just recently passed. Anyway, buried him here. He went over to become Jack the Ripper. I mean, because you're America's first serial killer. No one ever knew who Jack the Ripper was. They never caught him. That would be something you'd have to be smart to outrun everybody, which I can see H.H. Holmes being like that. As many people as he murdered in Chicago at his murder castle, or whatever you want to call it. That's fitting for Jack the Ripper. And just because he had so many demands to be buried here. The concrete, and then fill the concrete again, just so he couldn't be dug up. Because if you do an autopsy, if you go back to check, they're going to find out, yeah, it wasn't him. So, but if you follow his request, pour all the concrete on top of the concrete on top of the concrete and unmark it, it's going to be hard for you to prove that that's not him in here. So, not this one, but in this dirt area here. So, I'm sticking with Jack the Ripper. Renee can believe whatever she wants to believe, but I think he became Jack the Ripper.
I was born with the devil in me. I could not help the fact that I was a murderer. No more than the poet can help the inspiration to sing.
All right, guys. Well, that does it for us on this H.H. Holmes mystery exit. I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed this video. This has been fun. It's been real fun. I like that. So we hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed making it. Catch you guys down the road at the next exit.
Keep it spooky.
Later.